loud. So today I'm going to read from about messenger RNA, in parentheses, mRNA, ribonucleic acid. The RNA bears its coded messages to a destination and transfer the message to transfer tRNA to be decoded. So I'm actually taking this from Deepak Chopra, who's a medical doctor, and his thumbprint is quantum physics, quantum healing. Those of you who don't know about Deepak Chopra, probably in the 1980s, I started acquiring some of his books. If I would go look, I probably have at least 4 or 5 of Deepak Chopra's books. At the time, they were probably some very hard reads. So I would read, put it up, come back, read, put it up. Anybody who's actually taking classes on, what's the word I'm looking for? Shoots. There's a specific term. It's usually coming from his classes. I'll think about it in a second. RNA's mission is to travel away from DNA in order to produce the proteins, more than 2 million in number, that actually build and repair the body. So RNA actually builds and repairs the body. RNA is like an active knowledge. It compares to DNA's silent intelligence. This is how the cells know how and in what way to function, not only during times of development, but in times of sickness, trauma, emotional stress, accidents, healing, and rejuvenating. In other words, the DNA is the blueprint. When we build a house, we have to have a blueprint. In today's world, we have to submit that blueprint to the city. We have to get permits. We have to, it's a whole array of process. So the blueprint, so think about that. And what I want you to think about is the date, time, and the city you were born in is your blueprint of your longitude and latitude. That's what I want you to do. You are a unique being because of that. The DNA is the blueprint, and the RNA carries out the building instructions. So that is when the electrician, the plumber, the concrete guy, the painter, remember, those are the ones who carry the building instructions. There is a mind-body connection to the DNA. We can liken it onto a radio broadcast. The mind is sending out impulses of intelligence. DNA receives them. You may think that you can't talk to the DNA, but in fact, you do continually. I want to read that again. You may not think that you can talk to your DNA, but the fact you do continually. Thinking happens at the level of DNA, because without the brain cells sending out a neuropeptide, where do peptides come from? Where do peptides come from? Proteins turning to a peptide, or other messengers. There can be no thought. Everything in life pours out of DNA: flesh, bones, blood, heart, and the nervous system. A baby's first words and a toddler's first steps, the maturing of reason in the brain's cortex, the play of emotions, thoughts, and desires that flicker the summering lights through every cell. All of this is DNA. Getting our lives back into balance, in alignment, in harmony is what it's all about. We need to learn how to put our intelligence, higher self, spirit, super consciousness, creative sources, or whatever we choose to call it, back in charge of our being. Whatever we use to attain this balance, we come together faster, more solid, and be longer lasting and more effective if we are single-minded in the process. Until that time, for many of us, confusion will reign supreme, and peace and joy that we seek in life will be evasive. Until we learn to achieve balance, we will have our up days, real good days, but we will have our many down days, not so good days. A measure of how we are doing will be obvious by the state of our health, our finances, our relationships, or in other words, by our success in each of our life. Why isn't my life going the way I want it? Is the question today. Why isn't my life going the way I want it? Who has the balance alls today? Who's smelling balance?
I did balance and clarify.
Good. Ooh. Balance is important, guys. And if we aren't writing, I call it all those 6 F's and taking evaluations on it, we will be out of balance. You know, the fun, the friendships, the finances, the fitness, so today I am going to be bringing up a twofold. So let's maybe perhaps a couple of people answer the question, what isn't my life? Why isn't my life going the way I want it? Can some people just, I mean, it could be one word answers. It doesn't have to be complicated. Can anybody? I did comfort oil this morning. Ooh, that's cool, Molly. Thank you, Corinne, for writing about the RNA. Ribo.
I would say if my life isn't going exactly how I want it, I don't like this word at all, but it's lazy. And I shouldn't, I do not like it when my kids are lazy, when people are laying around, and people go, oh, but this is just how I relax, you know, or whatever. And I'm like, and so I know that I have an issue with lazy, but I would just say I'm lazy. You know, there's plenty of things that I could do versus sitting on the couch and watching a show, which doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it happens, you know? So I just think I always have to be productive.
Okay.
So laziness.
So can I give you some words that's what the opposite of lazy could look like in your vocabulary?
Okay.
Industrious, motivated, resolute, ambitious. So perhaps the part is how can I get my motivation back? You see, the reason I wanted to do that is because we flip it around. And how can we speak from that balance of seeing? So everybody knows how to do the figure 8 sideways. I call it the lazy 8. So Corinne, what you're going to do is you're going to say, it is okay for me to be lazy today. However, I'm going to find the motive. I'm going to get motivated back. And just, okay, when we cannot see both sides, when we cannot see both sides, we cannot move to a higher consciousness. When we are only seeing one side, we are staying in ego, self, me. So Marissa writes, on the flip side, though, you can be motivated, hustler, productive, doing all of the things, and your life is still not where you want it to be, which is true. Because I'm going to bring up another point too. The balance of masculine and feminine. Guess what? The masculine is in the doing. The feminine is in the being. So watch this. So Corinne, could you actually just sit in the energy of ambitious and perhaps bring in a mindful scripture time, a mind, like go in your front living room by yourself and literally take 10 minutes out? Because guess what that does? It literally is the battery that you're going to bring in the energy of those words that you're going to read. You're going to see it as being lazy, if that's what you consider lazy. And you're going to breathe in those words and be with both. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to actually recharge probably close to 10 hours of energy. Or actually, it's called generate. So I showed you the flip side of being both. When we can be both, and I get where you're coming from, and what you might want to say is, okay, we all have 20 minutes. Might look like that. We all have 20 minutes to just be. You go recharge, and then you come back and you ask, okay, is it clothes that needs to be done? Like, what is it that the energy needs to be spent on after we recharge it? Do you guys see how we can be in both instead of give a negative response to one and not change our RNA and DNA? Okay. This is any feedback, Corinne?
Yes. So several times throughout this call, I am reminded of little things that Sharon has taught me over the years. And I know I should just be, you know, when we went for this weekend and went with all my sisters and just had such a great time. And one of the pictures my mom took was me napping on the couch. And I'm like, Mother, I mean, I think there's 14 blankets. I'm like, I'm not even like pretty when I'm, you know, and I was like, she goes, I'm so glad that you're able to take just a short nap. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, and we did, we recharged, we did some things, but I'm reminded that we all show our lack of motivation in different ways. There, I said the lack of motivation, because, you know, when I see that my kids aren't doing just the simplest things, I'm like, you guys, it will take you 2 minutes. It will take you 4 minutes. But I love being reminded of the figure 8. It reminds me of Sharon. She used to teach piano lessons, and her son would sit down at the piano and start playing, but he would mess up at a certain spot every time. And she said, you know, I would just go in front of the piano and I would just start doing the figure eight. And he would play it through the next time without any interruptions. And it just brings it back together. And I thought, you know, we've been missing that figure eight in my home the last month with all of the directions that we've been running. And I thought, how can I see both sides? Because I know they're tired. If I'm exhausted, you know, I know they're tired too. So that was, I needed that. And I can just picture Sharon standing up and, you know, we would say leading the music but she would just do that figure eight. So that was really good for me. And I need to be mindful of not bringing it in or focusing on that negative of being lazy. It's the lack of motivation. And I like that word. I actually wrote that down as you were talking. So.
And can I challenge you on another one?
No, no, just kidding. Yes, you can.
It's okay to say no too.
I'm just kidding.
It's okay to say it, but you know, I'm probably going to do it anyway.
I know. Well, that's what I see Chris laughing because there's times where I'm like, oh gosh, don't say that. And then he knows when he's said something that I'm like, oh, I can't take on one more thing. And he's like, well, that was great. You know, so yes, you can say something.
Okay. So I'm going to bring up this picture, and I guess the part that I want to tell you is right now, evidently she is speaking to you. Hold that space for her to communicate to you. I want to bring up something that possibly some have seen for the first time, some possibly not. Who notices the figure eight on the top of the head? Okay. I was recently reminded that I was trained in something called One Brain, which is the behavior barometer, when I was 21 years old and learned muscle testing. So what I don't want Corinne to do is stay in guilt or get stuck in her DNA or RNA. I don't want her to stay stuck in guilt of this word lazy. Okay. So when we can go from our thinking to our feelings, to our thinking, to our feelings, and we can make a perfect connection of negative and positive. And Corinne is very, very familiar with our hand and which ones are the negative and the positives, because they are a battery charger. So Corinne, what I'm going to need you to do right now is, okay, on your right side, you're going to take your thumb and your middle finger and you're going to put it on your earlobe. I have earrings on, so I'm going to do this. On your left side, you're going to take your wedding ring finger and your thumb, and you're going to put it on your left side. And what you're going to do is you're going to create the perfect recharging energy circuit. If you will notice, what's going to happen is the brain actually is starting to tingle, possibly have like, whew, what is this? There's an energy circuit. There's a, whew. Anybody else have a description of what's happening?
My left eye is twitching.
Ah, and haven't you had that come up in before?
No, but it happens in a lot of people. Like whenever anybody has eye twitching, they always say, hey, let's do a little bit of work. But.
And so what's happening is that it's actually helping the nervous system. So that is an overcharged nerve that she's actually helping to ground. Single-minded goes back to we are the source of our power, meaning that we have a negative and a positive feel within our own bodies. The ability to act, life changes, health, peace, and joy. And remember, joy flows, the heart stays still. The heart is never changes. It is pure love. Whew. I'm gonna tell y'all, it loosened up a lot for me. And sometimes a book like this has to fall in our lap to be the exact thing that we needed to see, hear, or be today. Remember, guys, I don't plan these lessons. They come to me. As I allow things to happen, more and more flows through me. I want to read 14 prompts. Give thanks in all things. Become joy is preceded by gratitude. Man is that he might have joy. Have you experienced a fullness of joy yet? Become aware, mindful, conscious of your feelings, thoughts, emotions, words, and actions. Thank you so much, Corinne, for being honest with your word, so we could actually help it allow to flow through you. Let go of blame and judgment. Let go of a force and control. Sincerely forgive the past, everyone, everything, including yourself. I personally stayed stuck in shame in not forgiving myself for the act of becoming pregnant, because it was something that was put as a stigma. And when I finally let go of it, it was the hugest release in my life. Resolve all resentment, bitterness, and pride. Love without putting conditions on that love, again, including yourself. Do you send love notes to yourself? Ashley, write a love note to yourself, mail it to me, and I'll mail it back to you. She writes the best notes, guys.
But I was going to say, wouldn't affirmations be love notes?
Yes. However, when's the last time? Okay, y'all, perhaps maybe we need to all go do that song in, I don't know, some of you girls are so darn good at these reels, or I don't know what they are, but send a letter to yourself, the mail. What is the name of that song where they mail a letter to themselves? Okay, I'm back in the 1960s or 70s probably. So Becky, you don't remember that song? I know she's dealing with Easton, but I'm gonna find it. But mail a letter to yourself. In other words, you put the letter in the mail and you send it back to yourself. Recognize that everyone is perfect the way they are. I'm going to repeat that one. Recognize that everyone is perfect the way they are. Accept responsibilities and accountabilities for self. You see, that's what Corinne really wanted to say, but she used the word lazy. Accept responsibility and accountability for self. So in her home, everybody is accountable and everybody has responsibility. She's not the home that one person does it all. I've been in her home, I've slept in her home, and I was the one who went to bed first. Everybody else, I don't know what time they stayed up till. Quit resisting. Quit denying. Give thanks in all things. Isn't that a scripture? Be grateful for the challenges and the pain. Be grateful for the challenges and the pain. It gets your attention to let you know you're out of balance. That's it. Oh, look how precious. That's priceless. That's a recharge. That's a definite positive and negative recharging. Be excited about getting to know the real you, REAL. I literally have a book and it's called The Real Self. Whew, talk about a deep one. Utilize the script on a consistent daily basis. Pray to God to have him assist you in your efforts. Assist you in your efforts. By taking these steps towards a more fulfilling and satisfying life, you are putting yourself in a position to gain control, where you become the master of your life, circumstances, and destiny rather than remaining a victim. Let's see, we have a stop sharing. Which book is it? Ooh, Corinne wants to know what book I'm reading from. Don't you just love when I do this to you guys? I'm gonna show you another picture before I tell you. Oh, shoots, I didn't realize that the sun doesn't have its word up there. So let me turn my page. Oh, there's no word. Okay. So the sun in naturopath, there are 28 areas you learn about. And one of them is sunlight. And sunlight can come, or, chromotherapy, which is color therapy, because the sun radiates an energetic frequency. Isn't it solar energy? Isn't it recharging to the proper batteries? When we go in the sun, we recharge. And if you sunburn, you are lacking antioxidants. Just a little tidbit on that one. And you're burning up all your B vitamins, by the way. So the sunlight radiates, but look at if that sunlight radiation is always emotions. And I'm going to put E equals motion, because emotions have a frequency and they travel. We have the thought is the seed. The feelings are the soil. The sunlight is that energy being put on the plant, which becomes the effect of the condition in life. Have y'all ever sat there and thought about this, that the energy part of the sunlight, of beaming down and recharging those solar panels, is actually, if you're putting all of that into the emotions that are draining rather than charging. So would joy be a frequency of gaining or a frequency of reducing? The negative and the positive again. Molly got it. Molly's laughing over there. So Cab Allen, the chi lights a letter to myself. So Alan found my book, pulled it out, and that's how it became the lesson of today, because of something I heard last night. So last night, a question was asked of which product should I take from my brain with Soul Naturals? Well, to all avail, every single product with Soul has one for the brain. There is a product in each and every one of them for the brain. That is the formula. Any other questions about this metaphor of how you are wearing yourself out with the energy beam of negative feelings? Wouldn't you want to write 9 words that would radiate onto you? And yes, Jen, even though you want to change those words down the road, you can change those words, but have 9. She's laughing. Her and I have had multiple conversations about something. But remember, if we don't have the 9 words, then we can't build to get to the next higher and higher and higher frequency. And yes, guys, I hate to tell you this, but this is M equals MC squared, which is energy. So, which brings us to the green books and Bacopa. So according to this curriculum, which is taught in naturopath colleges that are accredited in some states and not others. But he is a teacher. Donald Yance is actually a teacher. Bacopa is in here, and it is an adaptogen, but it's also for the brain. It's an Ayurvedic herb, and it's a restorative adaptogenic tonic. It has been used for thousands of years in the treatment of debility, particularly mental debility, mental chatter, insomnia, depression, and chronic fatigue, and as a brain tonic to enhance memory, development, learning, and concentration. It is also used to provide a relief to a person suffering from anxiety or epileptic disorder. So that's from that accredited source. And if we open our book, number 4 in the contents, so we're in our green books, which is we're calling this our herbal 101. After we finish these 25 herb books, anybody who has attended and reaches out to me, you will get a certification because I'm qualified for that. So Bacopa, I wrote brain. I'm going to call it where the word is, and then where the page number is, I wrote memory. So on page 23, I wrote several notes when I was, writing in my book. I use this book at any given moment to be an accredited source of information I can read to a client in a consultation. When they are bringing up a point, I can bold this out and say, we have these all documented. And in the event that that's that kind of person who wants documentation. In the plant world, I don't need that. So these are a couple of notes from Carrie Boone's book that I refer to. So Carrie Boone is an Australian herbalist that is very world renowned. To improve memory, especially medium and long term. So medium and long term memory. To improve concentration or mental performance. To improve concentration or mental performance. So that would be literally, I don't know what I would do without Bacopa right now in life, especially when I was transitioning through menopause. The brain really gets a lot of fogginess, and it has really helped me be able to do and teach. Then we have ADHD. and Alzheimer's disease. And that's all by Carrie Boone. And I write that on the top. And we have Bacopa in our Pro Bio IQ. So the IQ stands literally for it has something for the brain. That's why the IQ is in there. And then we have it in the green greens. Which is the Avant greens. Any other products we have it in? I don't know. I don't think it's in the Soul Complete. I don't know for what reason I'm saying this, but we also have another item in some of our products for the brain, which is the Ginkgo biloba. And that one is in here also, but we won't have time today to do it. So it's all about cognitive function. Whenever we think of cognitive function is going to go back to the 5 senses and everything in the head. And those all have to communicate together and have all the hormones, which is the pituitary, the pineal gland, and the hypothalamus create. It's also hypothyroidism, lung function, and a protection from drug toxicity. Interesting, huh? It's a cooling bitter herb. A lot of bitter herbs are going to be for the brain because it has to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier. Bacopa has traditionally been used to enhance cognitive function for thousands of years. The Ayurvedic system of medicine in India classifies Bacopa, called Braham, as maybe Marissa can pronounce that one, Metahasa Sanana, an herb to improve memory and mind. You would think by now I would know all my all of my Ayurvedic words for yoga, but no. That's where I need a lot of cognitive memory help. Current scientific investigation has confirmed this use, but only when the plant is used over time as compared to a single dose. So this is the key, guys. Taking our herbs on a continual basis, let's say at least 4 times a week. Sometimes we don't have to be 100%. We can actually be 70 or 60 if we take them 4 days a week. But that's why I take my ProBio every night before I go to bed with my Vertizyme. So therefore, it is more for my brain function than anything else in this transition of hormonal phases. This makes sense since the plant does not improve cognition by using stimulants for immediate effects, but rather by helping improve nerve transmission and by repairing damaged neurons. I'm going to tell you, the work that was done in ALS people that actually repairs damaged neurons is imperative, and we're seeing it happen in some people who really are not afraid of soul natural herbs. The ones who literally start taking them and are faithful and don't say, oh, this happened, so I put them all aside. They are actually getting more benefits. In one study, volunteers were randomly assigned to take either Bacopa or a placebo for 3 months. Neuropsychologists testing showed that those who took Bacopa had improved visual information processing speed, a better rate of learning, and a better memory consolidation, and lowered anxiety. A review of Bacopa's effect in children shows improved cognitive and learning, as well as improved attention, reduced impulsivity, hyperactivity, and less aggravation, and improve peer relationships in adolescence. Marissa writes, I can see this because then my body becomes more receptive and can absorb what it needs. It's all about energy. Absolutely. Medical students given an extra Bacopa for just 6 weeks also showed improved cognitive and memory, as well as higher levels of blood calcium and 10 tend towards lowering cholesterol with higher HDL. Cognitive effects include better efficiency of attention, less distractibility, and improve working memory. I personally, when I call it work batch. So when I work batch, I have 2 subjects I'm only working on, and I produce all the information and get it out. I can tell a huge difference. And that morning I will take 2 probios and 2 neuro IMs, and I will not allow distractions. I will be able to look at something and say, no, you can't do that right now. Or somebody walks in and I will literally say, I have 2 more hours. I'm sorry, but I cannot be disrupted at this time. I am finishing this project. Finally, Bacopa is a neuroprotective. It can improve blood flow through the brain. It reduces brain inflammation and may help protect against Alzheimer's disease. It also reduces symptoms of dementia, Parkinson's disease, and epilepsy. Bacopa's positive effects go beyond the brain. Bacopa benefits the heart, lungs, and gut as well. A number of animal studies demonstrate that Bacopa improves heart function and lowers blood pressure. And these are all documented where the studies come from. Animal studies also suggest that its antioxidant activities may be powerful enough to reduce the liver and kidney toxicity related to heroin and morphine addictions. That's pretty powerful about Bacopa. And one of the things, how many people know where to find their book that they first got when they joined Soul, the Success Workbook, which probably doesn't have all our products? I was trying to figure out a source that we could use to where we would actually highlight in every single one of the products, which is the brain herb and which is the gut herb. And I'm going to look into that so that way we can start doing that, because my mission is to have people educated at a higher, I'm going to call our upper level people, be able to answer a simple, and I'm saying a simple question like that. Look, guys, it's not always simple, but however, the part is that Soul's mission is brain gut connection. There is something in every product for the brain and something for the gut. Let's start knowing what those 2 items are in each one of the products. Is everybody wanting that, or no, that's not a good idea? Or
Why don't we say by next week or next Tuesday, take a few minutes, print out all of the product info sheets and put them in a binder. I've done that, and I always give it away. Why don't we have that highlighter?
Yeah.
And we could have that as our resource. I know Dr. Victoria, she's printed them out. She takes that book everywhere. She's waiting in line at the grocery store, or at